Welcome to Blended Scotch Reviews, episode number 5. Today, instead of reviewing blended scotches, though, I have two single malts that are contributors to the two blends we've been studying. I've got Aberfeldy 12, which goes in Dewar's White Label, and I've got Talisker Storm, which I'm not sure if it goes into Isle of Skye 8, but all the reviews I chased down, all the history that I've read, says that Talisker goes into Isle of Skye whiskies. And so Talisker Storm is the Talisker I have on hand. It's the only one I can afford. So here you go. And in looking at these single malts, I mean, I've got them on hand, so why not do a taste comparison? But this is to further my knowledge of the blended scotches that I've reviewed, that Dewar's White and the Isle of Skye 8. And we'll be looking at some more Dewar's down the road a bit and some more Isle of Skye whiskeys as well. So tonight we're just going to do this head-to-head matchup between single malts and see which one I like the most. And the rules are very simple. If I was offered these two whiskeys 5 nights in a row, which one would I choose 3 nights out of the 5? And in case of a tie, what do? Well, price, availability, and value will determine the winner. Now, as part of the fun, I also drink these blind. I try to guess which is which. I've got blacked out Glencairns. Number 1, it's labeled on the bottom, is Aberfeldy. Number 2 is Talisker Storm. So let's look at these contestants. Aberfeldy 12. This is the home distillery for the Dewar's brand, located in the Highlands in Perthshire, outside the town of Aberfeldy off the River Tay. It is the largest single malt component to Dewar's White. The distillery was built by the Dewars and opened in 1898, but Dewar's is now owned by Bacardi. Coming in at 40% ABV, this 12-year-old sells in Fort Worth, Texas for $44.99 at Goody Goody, $42.07 at Specs, and $42.99 at Total Wine in the month of August 2024. Talisker Storm. Coming from Carbost on the Isle of Skye, was founded in 1830 by Hugh and Kenneth McCaskill on land leased from Clan MacLeod. And of course, Clan MacLeod is where we got the Isle of Skye whiskey. Talisker is now owned by Diageo, however. Storm was released in 2013 in a period of time when no age statement whiskeys were kind of a fad. Why did it become a fad? Well, it kind of maybe necessity, because the judging what your sales are going to be 10, 12 years down the road versus how much you have on hand, that's a real sketchy business. I don't know how the whiskey companies do it, to tell you the truth. But needless to say, stocks get low, and so you start this happened in the bourbon industry in America too. Stocks get low of the age stated things, the older whiskeys, and so then you got to put in younger whiskeys, and so then you got to, reduce your age statement down or leave it off altogether. And Talisker Storm kind of replaced the 10-year-old for a time, and but now you can get both of them, right? Here in Fort Worth, it's harder to get Talisker Storm than it is the 10-year-old. Goody Goody did not list the Storm, but the 10-year-old is available for $73.99. Specs is where I got the 10-year-old for $59.78. Total Wine does not have, did I say Specs? Storm. I got the Storm at Specs. Okay. Total Wine did not have the Storm, but it had the 10-year-old for $73.99. So, there's a $14 price difference or so between the 10-year-old and the Storm. So that's why I've got the Storm instead of the 10-year-old. This is, the proof on this thing is ABV is 45.8, so that is a 91.6 proof versus the Aberfeldy, which is a 80 proof. So there's a proof advantage going on there. Talisker Storm is peated, and it's by the sea. They age these things by the sea, so you get the maritime influence of the ocean air, and I really like that maritime influence. I do. So this is going to be a hard choice because I really do like the Aberfeldy. If I was going to choose which one might win, I might lean towards the Aberfeldy. Uh, if you were going to introduce somebody to Scotch single malts, the Aberfeldy is a great intro. It's young, it's relatively inexpensive, and it's a gentle drink. It's not, is there a little bit of peat smoke in there? Maybe just a tad somewhere in there. There's probably something in there. But the Talisker Storm is certainly, this is not a harsh peat smoke whiskey at all, but it's there. It's very pronounced, and you get that sea breeze maritime flavor going on. Some people's palates interpret peat smoke as kind of a medicinal flavor, but to me, this is almost a perfect example of how to have a peated whiskey with the maritime influence. So those are the two contestants tonight. History, I look at the history of my whiskeys, and so Talisker's been around since 1830, and that beats Aberfeldy. And so Talisker's been used by a lot of people in their blends. So I'm going to give the history advantage to Talisker. Bottle, label, marketing. Here on the bottle of Talisker, this is a kind of a classic bottle shape. You've got a map of the Isle of Skye right there. But down here, you have the portion of the Isle of Skye where Talisker is located, and it's got a little point on the map there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's there. So I like labels that have things like that on it, maps. And the label's not, it's classy, but it's not superimposing. So all in all, man, that bottle is and label's pretty cool. Aberfeldy is very appealing. I mean, that's when you use gold lettering like that kind of matches and accents the whiskey. That's pretty cool. So I like that. But I'm going to give the edge to bottle label and marketing, to Talisker Storm, and which one is, I think most liquor stores are going to have both. A Talisker, maybe not Storm. Okay, they're going to have a Talisker, probably the 10-year-old or maybe something older. And most will probably have the Aberfeldy. But I'm going to give bottle label and marketing to Talisker. Composition, both of these are single malts. Storm has the no age statement, whereas Aberfeldy listed as 12-year-old. Aberfeldy's from the middle of Scotland in the Highlands, whereas Talisker, again, is on the coast and it has that maritime influence. And then obviously the proof advantage. So I'm going to give composition also to Storm. Now let's go to the nose on these glasses. And right away, the one on my left does have the peat smoke smell, so I think that's Talisker. And this has a very vague sweetness, so I'm going to say Aberfeldy. So Talisker, the one on the left, absolutely wins the nose. Taste and palate, I'm going to start with the one that I couldn't smell much, because if I drink the higher proof first, it's going to wreck my palate. Yeah, that's the Aberfeldy. That is just delicious sweetness. It kind of lacks the harsh edge that that some single malts have. It's very gentle, but there's an appropriate, very slight burn from the 80 proof. It's not strong at all. This would be a great whiskey to start somebody out on with if they want to explore single malts. Aberfeldy would absolutely be that recommendation. There is, some floral or heather going on there. Maybe a little bit of grass. If there's any smoke in there, it's in the back, very thin amount in the background. That could be barrel that I'm tasting. There's a little leather note or barrel wood note going on in the background there. It's very pleasant. I mean, this is just an outstanding pour, definitely. So let me cleanse my palate with some Topo Chico. Now I'm going to move to the glass on the left. And again, by the nose, I'm saying this is going to be number 2 on the bottom, Talisker. Despite the proof advantage, it doesn't have much of a burn at all. It's over 91 proof, but it doesn't have the burn that you would normally get with a 90 proof. It's got a much longer lingering mouthfeel than the one on the right. The peat smoke comes through, the maritime flavor comes through. This, if you want an introduction to peated whiskies, this may be the one. If you're looking at single malts, this is not like an Ardbeg. It's not like a Lafroig. Both of those I love, but this is going to be much more gentle. This may be about the level of a Johnny Walker Black, maybe. And for me, I'm not getting the iodine or medicinal Band-Aid flavor at all. This is focusing on the maritime, the sea breeze coming in with just a little bit of smoke along with it. So picture a campfire on the beach with the sea breeze coming in, and you're getting just a little bit, maybe you're eating some smoked fish or something along with that. So it's gentle, it's not overpowering. There's a sweetness level too. So okay, that mouthfeel and finish. I think the mouthfeel and finish is going to, the advantage goes to the one on the left. The Aberfeldy, the finish drops away very quickly. There's not much that lingers there. So the nose and the mouthfeel and finish goes with the one on the left. So now for the winner, though, what am I going to do? This is almost apples and oranges. When you look at non-peated versus peated, it's really two different critters. And when I started drinking, I started with bourbon, but then I moved over to rye. And a lot of ryes are very sparkly, very peppery, spicy. Then I moved into Texas whiskeys. And with Texas whiskeys, you get a smoky element, a charred element that the heat, the extreme climate puts into that whiskey from the barrel char. And so I love that. I mean, Texas whiskeys are my favorite. So when I came into scotches and started sampling the peated whiskeys, it was a natural. I mean, absolutely moved into that without any hesitation, because it reminded me of what I'd been drinking in Texas. So, but some people can't just don't like that smoky thing. But here's the deal. The Aberfeldy is so delicious as well. Which is which? Which is going to be my favorite? And this will be incredibly difficult. I think I think I'm going to choose the Aberfeldy here. That I would probably go with it 3 nights out of the 5. But I think the price has something to do with that, maybe the value. This is, Aberfeldy's coming in at $42, $43. And that's, that's quite a bit lower. That's $15 at least lower. So that may have something to do with it. But I'm going to go with Aberfeldy as the winner. Even though Talisker won the nose and the mouthfeel and burn. Yeah, this is a really close thing. And it's apples and oranges. Okay, so which is which? Let me make sure. I'm going to say that this one on my left is going to be number 2. It's going to be Talisker. And I am correct. So number 1, Aberfeldy, I'm going to say is the winner. Wow. That's just a hard one. I think the price value factor is the deciding factor there. So that's the winner, Aberfeldy. Even though Isle of Skye beat Dewar's White, and that was close. That was extremely close. So I don't know. I'll stick with Aberfeldy this time. May not win every time. It just may be because today's Monday. I don't know. All right. Part of this channel is looking at the history of Scotland and the Scottish Isles. So this is a book called The Isle of Skye by Alexander Cameron, The History and Traditions of the Isle of Skye. So I'm going to read a portion of this. In the year 565, Columba and his 12 Christian friends left their native Erin, that is Ireland, in a curragh, small boat, and landed on the island of Iona, then the stronghold of Druidism and known as the Isle of Druids. From thence Columba repaired to the court of Brutus, the king of the Picts, held at the head of Loch Ness, probably at Inverness. He was at first refused admittance, but at length succeeded, and was instrumental in altering Brutus's views so far that he gave his consent to the gospel being preached and to his subjects, and granted Columba the island of Iona as his possession. Some historians assert that it was from Conall, king of the Scots, that Columba received Iona. It's true the island was near the confines of both kingdoms, but to which it actually belonged is now difficult to ascertain. Columba was a frequent visitor and had great influence at the courts of both kings. In one of his journeys to the court of King Brutus, he remained some days in Skye, where he slew a boar. Adomnan, in his Life of Columba, mentions Skye as the scene of one of the saint's prophecies, which was fulfilled by the arrival of an aged chief named Artbrannan on its shores, his reception of the truth, his baptism, his death, and his burial, all in immediate succession, the last being performed conquisto lapidem acro, in the mouth of a river, thence named Tubar Artbani. This aged chief received the word of God through an interpreter. Montalembert, in his Life of St. Columba, gives a graphic account of this incident. He narrates that one day, while Columba was laboring in his evangelical work in Skye, he cried out all at once, "My sons, today you will see an ancient Pictish chief, who has kept faithfully all his life the precepts of the natural law, arrive in this island, he comes to be baptized and to die. Immediately after, a boat was seen to approach the shore with a feeble old man seated in the prow, who was recognized as the chief of one of the neighboring tribes. Two of his companions took him up in their arms and brought him before the missionary, to whose words, as repeated by the interpreter, he listened attentively. When the discourse was ended, the old man asked to be baptized, and immediately after breathed his last and was buried in the very spot where he had just been brought to shore. At Iona, Columba founded Christian churches, and from thence he and his followers went forth to the western districts and the Isles of Scotland preaching the gospel. Their efforts were signally blessed, and the dark superstitions of Druidism everywhere gave way to the light of Christianity. Iona, for many centuries thereafter, continued a center of religion and learning. The missions of Columba and his followers and successors to Skye appear to have been very successful. A great number of places of worship were planted in the island. All right, just a brief little history of the Isle of Skye in Scotland, in St. Columba. Well, this is Stab the Dragon. Next time on this channel, I think we're going to look at the most popular Scotch whiskey in Scotland. So that'll be next time. Out here.